What is up, everybody? Welcome to Dynasty 365, our very first episode of the 2023 calendar year. I'm your host, Jorge Edwards, this week. Tyler Heil will be back next week with a brand new cast for Dynasty 365. And speaking of a brand new cast, we have a brand new co-host here for Dynasty 365. That's Bill Mustafa. Bill, hailing over from the UK. How are you doing today, man?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Nice early record, which means I didn't have to go so hard on the espresso today.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. You can follow Bill at Bill_Mustafa. He's been with us for years here at Fantasy and Frames. Just loves Dynasty content, loves the Buffalo Bills. So, Bills Mafia, if you're listening, you just gained another supporter right here. Of course, you can follow me at Jorge B. Edwards. And of course, we'd love it if you would follow us everywhere at Fantasy and Frames. This year, we're going to be working on building up our YouTube presence. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell icon also so you'll get notified when any Fantasy and Frames content will be coming your way. And trust me, folks, right after the Super Bowl, you should be expecting a lot of content coming your way all through the end of the season as we get you ready for not only a fantasy football championship this year, but for Dynasty purposes for years to come. So without further ado, let's get into the topic for today's show. We're talking about 2023 rookie running backs, part one, because there'll be multiple episodes because this rookie class at running back is pretty deep, pretty interesting, a lot of similarities, and sometimes not necessarily for the better, which we'll get into that. We'll point out that dichotomy in a little bit. But before we do that, again, head over to fantasyandframes.com. Check out all of our written content. Check out all of our new multimedia content that we're phasing into this year. Our dynasty rankings for several of our analysts, especially our new analysts, will be posted in the coming weeks, again, after the Super Bowl. But we couldn't wait. We couldn't wait to get you dynasty information, talk running backs, talk rookies, because, there's no time like the present. As the day we're recording right now, the Senior Bowl has already happened. I know Bill and Tyler and our new co-host of Dynasty 365, Stacy, will be talking about that. Needless to say, there was some rookie running back news that came from that week of practice. So a lot of good stuff coming your way. So, Bill, enough rambling. Let's get into it. Let's talk some rookie running backs. Let's go with let's start us off here with probably the most well-known of the group, Bijan Robinson, University of Texas. I mean, it's so hard to try and find something in terms of an argument against this guy. He's just so good in so many different phases of the game. We look back at his 2021 stats when I think a lot of us started, paying attention to him at Texas. Over 1,100 yards, 769 of those came after contact, 79 missed tackles, forced missed tackles. You jump this past year, 2022. Over 1,500 yards rushing, over 1,000 of those 1,500 yards came after contact, which is just ridiculous. And 104 missed tackles, forced missed tackles, which is crazy because the next closest running back, I believe, had 84. So this guy is just doing it in every phase of the game. When we look at his, metrics here, according to Pro Football Focus, he has the second highest elusive rating. He's second in the number of breakaway runs in 2022. Again, like I just said, first in the missed tackles forced. When you look at the film, here's what is really impressive. Bill, I may be aging myself here, but do you actually remember going and seeing the very first Matrix movie in theaters? Or did you see it when it already was on DVD or whatnot?
I've never seen The Matrix.
Stop. You've heard of The Matrix, though, right?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Okay, all right. So there's for those who are unaware, it is a movie with Keanu Reeves. Hopefully that's not the case where I have to actually explain what this movie is to people who are listening. But there was a scene when I went to go see it when it came out in theaters, my junior year of high school, and there's a scene where he basically is like floating in the air and everybody's like shooting at him and all these bullets are just going by and he's just like, you can't catch me, you can't hit me, all these, that's what it feels like when you're watching Bijan Robinson. Like he could be in a tightly clustered area of space with 7 other people around him and he can wiggle and maneuver to the point where, no one's touching him. And that's what makes him such a great talent is that, of course, he gets in the open space. He's going to take advantage of that and take it to the house. But in a crowded environment, playing, in a suspect behind a suspect offensive line, I mean, he can redirect, he can shift, he has all the lateral movements you want out of a superstar. I mean, he reminds me of Saquon Barkley in a lot of ways in that respect. Just very shifty, just a lot of talent. It goes without saying. Excels both, like I said, running between the tackles or running outside in zone stretch plays. But let's get to a con that is something that I think is going to come up a lot with this rookie running back class as we get into this episode and future episodes. Pass protection, not exactly his biggest strength there. In fact, it's not a strength that's quite common amongst the rookie running back class, or at least the players who are eligible to be rookies in the NFL this year. And he doesn't really have that burner speed. Like he's one of those guys who like gets into a rhythm. He's like the train who keeps chugging and chugging and chugging and chugging, and eventually he gets his high top end speed. But he's not just gonna snap a finger, take it to the house per se. So a few cons to his game here, but overall, I feel like these are things that are correctable. I think he can learn to. I think coaches, the NFL coaches, once he gets into rookie camps, it's like, all right, look, rookie, you better learn how to pass protect, or you're not going to. He also reminds me of a very productive, in a manner. There was a time, believe it or not, folks, where Derrick Henry wasn't exactly the guy in Tennessee. It was DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray, exactly. He was with the Tennessee Titans. He was with the Cowboys first, and he went to Philadelphia for a season that was just a horrible experiment. Then he went to Tennessee. And both Murray and Henry actually had success, despite being very similar in what they did and what they were as running backs. That is like the worst case scenario of landing spots for somebody like a Bijan Robinson, where he goes into another crowded backfield situation. But even then, I still think he could find success. I feel, he may not be the RB1 per se, but he definitely would have RB2 value. He goes into a backfield that it's all his. Well, it's all over, folks. I mean, this kid is going to do amazing things. So those are my thoughts on Bijan Robinson right there. Obviously, for dynasty purposes, it's too early. DLF and the various websites that are out there that track average draft position for rookies, they don't have enough data sets, so we can't really gauge the quote unquote market of where his ADP is going. But I think it's safe to say that everyone is projecting him to be the first overall pick in rookie drafts. Would you agree with that, Bill?
Yeah, non super flex, it's done. He's the 101. Even in super flex leagues, it looks like he's going to be the 101, maybe 102, dependent on team need. But Bijan's almost a can't miss prospect in the dynasty community.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're talking about missing and can't missing. Again, like I mentioned earlier, missing some pass protection prowess. He is. His teammate is not. However, maybe you want to speak to him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if Bijan needs to pick up some tips on how to pick up the blitzer or pick up the free man, he should talk to his teammate Roschon Johnson. One of the things that stood out to me when I watched Johnson on tape was just his ability to not only pick up the rusher, the free rusher, and block him and keep him away from the quarterback, but just the ability to identify where that free rush is coming from, and be able to protect his quarterback. That's a trait that's going to lead to him getting onto the field early as a rookie, which we don't always see. We see some rookie running backs drafted, even in the second and third rounds, and they're not thrust straight into the lineup because they need to learn how to make sure that the quarterback isn't going to end up on his butt. It was interesting watching some of the Senior Bowl coverage. One of the running back coaches was saying, I think she was a running backs coach for your Washington Commanders, actually, saying that she's looking at the running back's ability to pick up the rusher and keep the QB clean. That's something really important. And obviously, if you're drafting a running back as a prospect in the Dynasty League, you want a guy that's going to get on the field or has the ability to get on the field early. And Roschon Johnson definitely has that. He's a good size, 100 kilos, 6'1", 6'2". Really good north-south runner. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's like I said, he's got that size, 100 kilos, 6'2". He's physical. He can run between tackles, but he's no slouch either. When he gets out to the second and third levels, he's not a guy that you're going to be able to run down with ease. Really interesting prospect. I think it's almost a shame that he was behind Bijan Robinson. We didn't see him carry the ball as much. But some NFL teams are going to like the fact that his body hasn't taken a beat. Some NFL teams are going to like the fact that maybe his best football's ahead of him. And I think it's interesting as well, going back to Bijan Robinson, a guy that we just said broke so many tackles and was so elusive throughout his career at Texas. 4.17 yards after contact average. Roschon Johnson, 4.28 yards after contact. So just as difficult to bring, if not more difficult to bring down than Bijan Robinson. And I think that, like we said, if you're going to take Bijan Robinson, you're taking him the first 2-3 picks. More often than not, unless you've got the 101, he's out of range. Roschon Johnson's a guy that could be slipping into the second round of your dynasty drafts. And with the right landing spot, and like I said, with that ability to protect the passer and get on the field early, he could be an absolute steal in dynasty drafts.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Especially, you mentioned when it came to the 101, folks, don't forget, team need also plays a huge role in your decision-making, not just taking the number one pick based off of consensus. But you mentioned something very interesting about Roschon Johnson right there, as far as coaches in the pros and the NFL liking the fact that a running back has not taken a beating over the course of their career in college. That's one of the things you'll notice that kind of contributes to the longevity of these rookies once they get to the pros. It's the fact that sometimes the wear and tear in college gets to be too much, and then you start seeing them breaking down early, and therefore their quote-unquote dynasty fantasy football shelf life and NFL utilization shelf life is short-lived. Which brings me to the next running back we're going to be talking about, who it's the exact opposite. In fact, it's like probably the most ideal scenario of scenarios for somebody who's as physical a runner as Tank Bigsby. 6 foot tall, 213 pounds, University of Auburn. The past two seasons, 2021 and 2022, were kind of telling. He in 2021, he had 223 rushing attempts for 1,099 yards, 10 touchdowns. That was up from his 138 attempts for 834 yards in 2020. Yet this past year, in 2021, that was in 13 games. However, this past year, in 12 games, he only rushed for 179 rush attempts for 970 yards, which some could say, okay, well, maybe if he had another good game, that would bring that total closer to his 2021 performance, but it's not. But he still got 10 touchdowns. So he was more efficient with the touches that he did have. He got 10 touchdowns. The attempts went down. It's almost like coaches, and I know this is totally not how it went down. I'm sure this was not discussed in their meeting. Hey, for fantasy purposes, let's take off some touches on him his last year in college, so he goes into the pros, with fresh legs. I don't know if that's what was discussed. If so, thank you. But I find that very telling that you gave him less work and he was still just as efficient, if not more, in the touchdown scoring department. What really is great about him is a lot. We look at his rushing yards. 76%, nearly 76% of his rushing yards came after contact. Can you imagine that?
I'm surprised with a build like that.
Like that is an insane number. 76% of his rushing yards came after contact. He's ranked third according to PFF in yards per contact per attempt. He's the fourth highest rated running back in terms of elusiveness. Among all the running backs in the Power 5 schools, he's fourth in breakaway run percentage. He was primarily utilized in a zone running scheme, but that's not to say that he couldn't do damage between the tackles either. He's just such an imposing figure. I'm not, that's those are pros. I'm not going to say for Khan his pass pro is horrible. It's definitely not as bad as some other running backs we'll discuss over the course of the next few weeks. It could use some work, but he has the frame and the body to absorb these oncoming edge rushers or these linebackers who are coming after him. So it's one of those things where I'm not as concerned as his ability to, much like with Bijan, not concerned about his ability to protect the quarterback. Another thing is, when given the opportunity, which has been few opportunities in the receiving game, he has a case of the drops. That's something that's going to potentially take you off the field a little bit more in third down situations, making you more of a first and second down running back. That is something that will have to be addressed if he does want to have that 3-down bell cow role going forward. But assuming things stay the status quo, he's definitely, again, a 1-2 down running back. Great upside. And he can book it. He's a big guy, but he can book it. And part of me wonders, when we're talking about breakaway run percentage, we're talking about like how many, 15 plus yard runs he breaks away. And part of me wonders, is it because he's really that fast and that elusive, or is it because people are like jumping out of his way because they don't want to get run over, a la like a Derrick Henry style situation there. Yeah, so take Bigsby. I'm kind of high on. He's definitely somebody for me. Second round, definitely solid second round rookie pick. If I got him in the mid second, I'd feel very happy having Bigsby in my roster.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's probably likely to get day 2 NFL draft capital as well, which is always nice if you're looking at a running back that you can pick up in your dynasty drafts in the second round, and he's a guy that was taken in the second or third round of the actual NFL draft. At least he's going to get a fair crack at the whip, at the position for his new team. So yeah, he's a guy I like to, average 5.5 yards per attempt in 22. Like you said, though, the drops is something that does worry me. I think he had a couple of 3 drops this year for Auburn, and like you say, is that going to affect his ability to stay on the field for as a 3-down running back? So yeah, and definitely an interesting prospect, and one that I think in the mid second rounds of your dynasty drafts, if he's there, that's pretty good value.
Now, who's somebody that is somebody you should pounce on in the first round of your rookie drafts here, Bill?
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is not spoken about highly enough in the dynasty community. To me, he's closer to Bijan as the number 1 than he is closer to the guy that, I have Zach Evans as my number 3, but the guy that you have at 3, Gibbs for me is closer to Bijan at 1 than he is the guy at 3. This is a guy, he's one of the youngest as well, the running back. He's not quite 21 yet. So we got that good, breakout age, and he's not as small as people make him out to be. He's still a 200-pound back, and this is a guy that is expected to run in the 4.3s. And you go, okay, well, big guy, 4.3s. You put the tape on, and there's the vision. There's the ability to make guys miss. It's not just that linear vertical speed. It's also that ability to move laterally with speed to find the gaps and hit the hole as you want, to see a first round or second round running back do. Like I said, likely to run 4.3. That's going to make people open their eyes a little bit, I think. That short area elusiveness is fantastic. You put the tape on, you wouldn't be able to tackle him in a phone box. You wouldn't be able to tackle him in a phone box. His ability as a pass catcher is really, really good. Like, this is a guy, so his yards per route run, 1.82 yards per route run this season. Just to put that into perspective in NFL terms, of the NFL running backs that were targeted 50 or more times, which is what Jahmyr Gibbs was targeted, not one of them had a yards per route run that high. You're talking the guys that were closest: Christian McCaffrey, 1.66. Alvin Kamara, 1.65. Austin Eckler, 1.64. These are the names. These are the guys that you look at. And for me, the easy comp is Alvin Kamara. You watch how he moves laterally, that patience, and then that ability to find the hole is like Alvin Kamara. The difference is, imagine Alvin Kamara with 4.3 speed.
Right.
Scary.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
Scary. This is the guy that I think he could have more of an initial impact than a guy like Bijan Robinson, in my opinion, because I believe you could see Gibbs maybe as a change of pace back initially in the NFL, because he's not fantastic at pass pro, as you said. There's a lot of the running backs in this class that are going to struggle with it outside of Roschon Johnson, and there is that question about his ability to run between the tackles regularly, where we haven't got that with Bijan Robinson. We know he can come in and be the guy straight away. If he comes in and gets picked in that mid first round draft capital in the NFL draft, the likelihood is he's going to a team that isn't great, that doesn't have many weapons, and he's going to be the primary focus. Easier for defenses to turn around and say, well, we stop Bijan in the backfield, we make this team one-dimensional, we can beat them. Jahmyr Gibbs likely to fall down the board. Imagine he ends up in Kansas City and they go again and find the CEH, that Clyde Edwards-Helaire thing that didn't quite work out for them a couple of years ago, and they go, do you know what? We like the idea. We still think it can work. We didn't hit the right guy. Jahmyr Gibbs in that backfield with all those weapons, with Patrick Mahomes, with Andy Reid. Good night. It's good night.
One of our analysts here, Nate Markham, would love to hear exactly what you're saying right now because he's a diehard Chiefs fan. We talk about, the ability to, you mentioned the ability of Gibbs to, have that blazing speed, to be that playmaker, to be that change of pace back, that explosive playmaker that you want to have on your offense. And especially that's great for fantasy purposes because that means the more opportunity for yards and points and whatnot. And there's a running back here that I'm about to talk about that if I could just ignore his height and weight, if I could just ignore that, I would say this guy probably is near the top of everybody's wish list at the running back position. That's Devon Achane out of Texas A&M. He is 5'9". Okay, height, I guess that's not horrible. But 185 pounds. That is light. Just to put that into perspective, people who in the pros are around that weight right now. Your boy James Cook for the Buffalo Bills is around that weight. He's 190. Matt Breida, 190. J.D. McKissick. This is the mold of the running back that mirrors Achane's size. Yeah. Okay,
doesn't fill you with confidence.
It doesn't. But when you look at what he's able to do, it is more than I think a McKissick or Breida, and even potentially Cook could do. We look at stats like college dominator rating, which basically tells you what percentage of the yards, both rushing and receiving for a running back. It looks at those yards, the rushing receiving yards that a running back has that season, and compares that to the team's rushing and receiving running back yardage. And you divide those two numbers, and anything over 35% is considered elite. This guy has a 40% college dominator rating. This guy is the elite of the elite when it comes to yardage production for his team. We look at the target share in the receiving game at Texas A&M, 14.7%. That's 93rd percentile elite. Straight up elite. 2021, 12 games, 130 rushing attempts for 910 yards, 10 touchdowns. This past season, in 10 games, 196 attempts for over 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns. He's not going to be a run between the tackles guy. He's a zone stretch guy. That being the case, he's had some success running in between the tackles when, he needs to plant his foot in the ground and just make one cut up the middle. Generally, the running lanes are wide. So that obviously is a reason why he's able to find success there. But look, whether it's in the receiving game or it's the zone running game out wide, he always wants to bounce it out. He wants to use his speed. He wants to get into open space because once you let him get into open space, you're not getting him.
Yeah.
These linebackers, and these defensive backs, they all approach trying to tackle somebody in open space by using angles. Well, if I cut him off at this angle or cut him off at this angle, you're not going to find the right angle. And by the time you do find the right angle, he's already ran by you. Great breakaway speed, great burst, great acceleration. I guess that's the term I think a lot of people are forgetting. Great acceleration. The question is, there are two questions really. Can he, and of course, one of the cons, pass pro, shocker. Tell me if you heard that one this episode. There are two concerns here. One, can he hold up to the wear and tear of being a lead back or somebody who's close to a lead back? I would say not. Now you tell me combine time, he's up from 185 to close to 200. That's a different story. Now we're talking something else. Now we're saying, okay, now we're increasing some durability. Problem two, he could do all these great things, okay? But if you're an NFL coach or general manager, are you looking at all these things he's able to do in college and thinking that can translate into the pros? Or are you typecasting him into people who fit his mold that have already come into the pros? Like, are you automatically clumping into like, oh, he's a third down back. Oh, he's a change of pace option. Like, are you really thinking he's the guy? That's the thing. Those are the two things I don't know. One of which is completely under his control. Put on weight, get bigger, get like literally bigger. Without sacrificing a lot of your speed, your playmaking ability, that'll keep you on the field longer. Pass protection has to be worked on for him to stay on the field. So he has some negatives working against him. The only thing but these are things that he can work on, like I just said. But again, going back to the thing, how does the NFL scouts, how do they evaluate him? That is the thing. I do not see him for the NFL maybe having a good year this year. He's somebody who I could see as a true dynasty investment and saying he's going to pay dividends in a couple of years. Maybe not this year, but the year after. He's got some time. He's got some experience. He's in the right situation. They utilize him finally in the right way. Cool. I don't think he's somebody who's just going to walk in the front door day one and be like, hey, I'm worth a first-round rookie pick investment. Although, again, without the ADP data, I can't say that that's common or not. But it's a debated thing in the dynasty community. Where do people have Devon Achane? Because you love the playmaking ability, but everyone says the exact same thing. Is he big enough? What are your thoughts on Devon Achane, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that like you say, that playmaking ability, when he gets into space and he's into he's at the second or third level, where he bounces it outside and he finds a crease, he is gone. He is gone. And it's exciting to watch. And you, in your mind, you think, if he can translate that into the NFL, if he can translate that to Sundays, we've got a star on our hands. But you look at him, like you say, the size, the comparable pros, the James Cook, Matt Breida, J.D. McKissick, you've got two guys that are third down, third choice running backs on their teams, and then you've got a guy in James Cook that, he looked pretty good coming into the end of the season this year. He kind of took over that RB1 job from Devin Singletary, but part of me also thinks it's such a great fit for James Cook to be in that Bills offense, a team that like to throw the ball a lot, a team that have Josh Allen in the backfield, where the sole focus can't be on the running back, even if the Bills are running the ball, because the most dangerous guy is the quarterback with the ball in his hands. So part of me feels that Achane has a chance. Let's say, for instance, he gets the same sort of draft capital that James Cook got. Let's say day 2, and he goes to a team that's a contending team with a strong quarterback, a quarterback that can run the ball. Let's say he goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, a good offensive line, a quarterback that's dangerous with the ball in his hand, and he gets that day 2 draft capital. Is there a chance he shoots up and becomes a first-round dynasty pick? Maybe. In rookie draft, maybe. I feel like it's really important. He's one of the guys that's most important where he gets selected, because if he gets selected by an old school front office, an old school coach that goes, you're X size, you're X speed, you're the third down, change of pace back, and that's the end of it.
Okay.
You know, let's say he ends up on the Titans. We don't like that as a dynasty community. We don't like that. For me, I just worry. I feel that there's too many things that could go wrong. But everything has to go right for him to be a guy that is a dynasty asset. And even if all those things go right, at his size, how long is he going to be a dynasty asset for?
Right.
How long does that body hold up? For me, I think I've said this to you before. For me, I think his ceiling is Nyheim Hines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as much I think Nyheim Hines is a great player, he's a better football player than he is dynasty or fantasy football asset, in my opinion.
Right. No, that's a very good point. Yeah, 100% agree with everything you just said. Let's round out this episode by talking about our last running back. Who you got for us, Bill?
Oh, another one of my guys. I really like Zach Evans out of Ole Miss. 21, 98 kilos. So this guy, he's tipping the scales. He's close to that Roschon Johnson kind of size, 6 foot. And you see that size, 100 kilos, 6 foot, and you look at him and you go, this guy looks like a running back. And you see him run, and the boy runs like a running back too. Speed, burst. But the thing that I really like about Zach Evans, apart from that track speed that he's got, is that the ability and the physicality to end his runs. He finishes his runs, he drops the lid, he drops the shoulder pads, he lets the tackler know that, all right, you made the tackle, you put the hit in, but as much as I felt it, you felt it, and I'm here all day. And I love to see that. I love to see that from a running back, a guy that punishes the linebackers, punishes the safeties. You know, these are, because, and he's not Derrick Henry, I'm not saying that, but it's something you see with Derrick Henry. You know, he doesn't always start hot, Derrick Henry. You know, his first 10 runs, he might only go for, 2 yards here, 3 yards here, 2 yards here. But every time you're tackling him, he's making you pay for tackling him. And he gets to the third quarter, fourth quarter, and not necessarily business decisions are made, but guys are too tired. They're too beat up from trying to tackle him all game, and he breaks one. And then he breaks another one, and then he breaks another one. And I wonder if Zach Evans could have that similar ability in the pros, where he might not necessarily start the game on fire. He kind of has to work into the game by, putting pressure on the second or third level defenders with that speed and that physicality when they go to make the tackle. And then all of a sudden he breaks a big one. He breaks 40 yards, he breaks 30 yards, goes for a touchdown. You're looking at that stat sheet and going, we didn't really have much going on. It was all sort of bitty. Oh, there was a big one, and he's had a great fantasy day. He could be that kind of player for me. Another thing I like about him is that contact balance. You're not bringing him down. One guy's not bringing him down. Like I say, he's physical, and he also has that ability to take a hit, stay on his feet, and keep moving. Something I really like when watching him. There is something about him which stops me from putting him in, in that Jahmyr Gibbs and that Bijan Robinson level. He's got a little bit of a giddy up in his run. Like when you see him on these, when he breaks one, when he breaks a 30, 40-yard run or even a 20-yard run, he seems to have a bit of a giddy up, and he sort of slows down, which is surprising for a guy with that track history. And it really did remind me of Jay Ajayi. Remember Jay Ajayi when he was with the Eagles with Miami? You'd see him break one and get past sort of 10, 15 yards, and there was almost like a little giddy up where that knee wasn't quite right. And I don't know if there's any injury there, or that's just purely his running style. But that's what reminded me of Jay Ajayi. I think he's Jay Ajayi with speed, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. If Jay Ajayi coming out had the kind of speed, I think we're going to see 4.4 speed from Zach Evans, and it translates on tape. It's something that you put the tape on and you see that speed. If Jay Ajayi had 4.4 speed and didn't have any injury concerns coming out, he might have been a second or third round draft pick, and I think Zach Evans could have a similar kind of hype behind him that Jay Ajayi did.
Well, I think one of the most drastic comparisons between the two is Jay Ajayi coming out of college didn't have cartilage in his knees, whereas I think Zach Evans actually still has some. So he's definitely yes. All right, so that's going to do it for us here on the first episode of Dynasty 365 for the 2023 season. Again, we're covering rookie running backs, part 1. as we're recording here on Tuesday, Bill, Tyler, Stacy, they'll be on tomorrow night. These episodes will be going out in the span of 1 week just to get you ready for all the Dynasty content we got coming your way next week. We'll be putting out our rookie prospect profile series on YouTube, where basically you have a bunch of our new analysts as well as some of the vets here, where we're going to be recording a good 5-10 minute video just breaking down a player, telling you why we like them, how that impacts your fantasy rosters going forward for Dynasty. So stay tuned for all that content. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, so hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button, and you will be notified when we drop awesome content, which is what we do here at Fantasy and Frames. So, Bill, it was great talking to you. It was great to kick off the podcasting season here at Fantasy and Frames with you. But I got to be honest with you, with Tyler and Stacy joining you, the sky's the limit for where you guys take this show. I'm really excited for where you all are taking Dynasty 365.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. I'm really excited. Really excited to get it kicking off with a good team behind us, especially with the Dynasty content.
Absolutely. All right, folks. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Stay tuned for our next episode coming out tomorrow. Take care, folks.